Hey, what's up everyone? JJ here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite LEGO idea sets, and that is the Viking Village. What I really like about this set is you kind of get the complete scene or village with the build, which is quite nice. And I think this is probably one of the best priced LEGO idea sets currently on LEGO shelves at $130. I do wish there were more minifigures, but overall you get kind of three distinct and pretty neat builds. So let's jump right in now and take a look at this set. Here we can see the LEGO Ideas Viking Village set. This is set 21343. This set has 2,103 pieces and it retails for $129.99 in the US. This set features three scenes that you can see here that can be detached from one another. First we have, of course, the blacksmith shop. Next here is the Vikings Great Hall. And last here is the lookout tower. This set comes with 4 minifigures, and while I think each of them look great individually, I do think a village requires a bit more than 4 minifigures. First up, we see the chief. I think he has really awesome printing on the torso as well as the legs, and I like his face printing as well. Here we can see the face printing without it being covered up by the helmet. There's no alternate face printing, as the helmet would reveal that on the back. However, there is good detailed back torso printing as well as an extra accessory there on the shoulders. And next up we have the blacksmith. I really like this minifigure. I like the color choice, kind of that dark red there for the legs. And I also like the way the torso printing carries down to the leg printing as well. No alternate face print once again. However, I really like the headband here with this character and the facial expression that she's making. And here we can see her back torso printing, which is really good detailing and really, fits the aesthetic here for a Viking village. Next up is the archer. I really like the face printing, especially with the paint there on his cheeks. And again, the leg and torso printing are very detailed, which I like. And almost all the characters up until this point have had different colored arms and torsos, which is something I really like in minifigures. It makes kind of the outfit stand out a little bit to me. He does not have an alternate face print, however I wanted you to see it without any of it being blocked by the helmet. Really cool eyebrows there. And of course here is the back torso printing. Again, great detailing and lots of references, of course, to the Viking theme. And last up is the warrior. I really like the face print they chose for her. I like the use of the freckles and the side smirk. And then once again, we see really great detailing here on both the torso as well as the legs. And she is our one minifigure that does have an alternate face print here. The wink, which I think could be used, if she's using the bow and arrow, trying to aim, but really cool detail printing here as well on the back of the torso. Like I said before, I really like each of these minifigures. I think they're very well detailed for a set like this. I just wish there was a few more. Honestly, I would say 7 is the number I would like. I would have settled for 6, but 4 definitely make the village seem a little empty. We're going to take a look now at the build. Keep in mind, this set does not have any stickers, so any of the detailing you see, these are going to be printed pieces. And there will be quite a few of these printed pieces throughout the entire set, which I really like, and I do think add a little bit of value to a set like this. And first up of the 3 builds, we're going to look at the blacksmith shop. As you can see, the shape of this build is quite strange. In fact, that's one of my only complaints about this set overall, is the shape of it. But you can see, of course, it's going to be surrounded by water on most sides. And of course, the major feature is going to be, the actual shop here. I think the set does a pretty nice job with the different techniques they use for some of the foliage and the trees and the bushes kind of around the Viking village. And here we can see along the back, there's going to be another kind of fern-like tree that utilizes both the dark green as well as the white, just to represent kind of how cold it is in this area for the Vikings. And here at the front of the blacksmith shop, we will see, of course, a grave just to represent some of the Viking funerals. Now, one thing this set does a really nice job with is the roofs are pretty easy to remove from many of the buildings. And I quite like the detailing for the roofs. I feel like they used various building techniques just so the roofs don't all feel identical, although they obviously very much fit into the same theme. And now with the roof removed, we have a better look here into the actual blacksmith shop. From the exterior, of course, we have the chimney with some smoke. However, the other sides of the shop are going to be opened up so that your characters can easily enter in and out of this building. This set does come with extra weapons, so swords, axes, and I placed those kind of here inside this little barrel. My favorite play feature, of course, is here. You can see the fire goes up and down as you push this lever, which I think is fun as you are kind of building some of these metalwares for your Vikings. And here in the back, of course, we're going to see an unfinished shield as well as an unfinished helmet kind of behind some of those weapons. Of the three components or parts of this build, this was definitely my least favorite, and it was where we started, which made it feel a little disappointing just because the set felt smaller than I expected, but then the other two sets, were much more massive. So it all worked out in the end, but this is where you will start your build when you begin the Viking Village. The second part of the build, and that sits in the middle of the Viking Village, is going to be the Great Hall. You kind of have this dock here on the front, but of course you're going to just have this one massive building that kind of serves as the component build for this middle section. And here, looking at it from the back, very similarly to the blacksmith shop, of course, we can see there's going to be water surrounding this Viking village. So, the transportation by boat is going to be very important. But I really like the detailing here on the exterior of this build. Like I said, there are lots of kind of the printed pieces with those Viking emblems. And I think they do a good job, the designers, using some creative pieces here in that pearl gold to kind of add some embellishments and detailings to the windows and the roofs for the Great Hall. And of course, very similarly, like I said, the roof will just slide right off, which is really nice to make it easy access to the interior of this build. Seeing as this is the central component of the Viking Village, there's a lot more detailing that goes into the building here of the roof. And then also, of course, on the top, we're going to see the additional inclusion of an additional window. But all in all, I like the detail and build techniques, especially kind of what they use here in the center. I like the way this fits in. You can kind of see they're in the interior of the roof. There's going to be some pieces placed there so you can sit it on top of the Great Hall appropriately. But all in all, I like the colors they used as well. That kind of nougat color with the tan makes me think of a mixture of, both wood and hay and something of that nature, which I think is appropriate given the scene. The Great Hall itself, of course, opens up to a dock, and then we see some stone stairs. It is rather kind of narrow, if you will. But there are some cool things inside. Looking here from the aerial view, of course, first we see kind of the chair there for the chief of the Viking village to sit. And as to his sides, of course, we see some tables with some gold instruments as well as a cup. In the center of the Great Hall, of course, there's going to be a fire with a pan to cook some food. And on one side, we're going to see a small narrow table with that food. And here on the other side, we're going to see some weapons hanging on the wall, a spear, an axe, as well as a shield. I quite like the front door leading here into the Great Hall and how it opens up here kind of in the center area. And while it looks great displayed next to the blacksmith shop, I feel like it seems a little bit small into what you would expect. However, on display, it looks good. So as long as you keep these two connected, I think both of them work really well together as a set. And the last major component of this set, which is also my favorite, is going to be the watchtower. Of course, we see the bridge leading over to an area for the archer to stand as well. And starting here at the exterior, of course, we can see there are additional docks. I do like the stone stairwell leading up to the tower. And then there's also, of course, some barrels for some ale and various drink. Once again, we can see this build is fully surrounded by water. I will say the shapes are odd. I don't quite understand the purpose of those shapes. It makes me feel like I'm playing Settlers of Catan with the hexagons. But one of my favorite parts underneath that stone stairwell is going to be a little bit of a cave, which hides some curious, fun surprises. The cave is large enough to fit several minifigures, which I think is a fun feature. I do wish this set came with maybe a boat that you can kind of dock here in the cave, but we have no such luck. And here on the last side of the watchtower, of course, we can see the rock face structure that leads up, of course, to the watchtower itself, which has some great detailing, especially there with the windows and the door. The build technique used for the stairwell here is some of my favorites in many sets. I like when you build something that's going to lay flat, but you build it kind of from its side. Usually you use these bricks up and down, but it's fun to kind of use them on their side to create new angles and shapes. One thing that I really like about the watchtower is you can actually remove this entire back wall so that you can view the interior of the tower. There isn't much in this first level. Of course, here you can see the door a little bit more closely, which I think is really nice. The use of the Harry Potter wands there for some detailing. And then that pumpkin, as well as the ladder leading up to the bridge, looks quite nice. In general, that orange color on the pumpkin is one of my favorite Lego colors in general. But let's also take a minute just to look at this kind of wall that we removed. Really cool detailing, like I said, over the windows here. And I quite like these little brown pieces used to create some detailing over the edge. And there is going to be some interior as well, not much. It looks like a table, of course, with a candle. I would argue perhaps that piece on the right is supposed to be a loaf of bread, which I think is quite fun. And then for the higher level leading up to the bridge, we're just going to see the window. Now, while we could remove the roof here of the watchtower, it's not as easy as the others because you're actually pushing this down so you can see some of the bricks kind of stayed connected. So this kind of stays in place more so than the others. And that makes sense because there's nothing really in the top of that tower to really access or need to view with your minifigures. Of course, the bridge itself is a really fun build. Whoops. It is relatively sturdy, although there is some movement, of course, with the pieces, but you can put some pressure when you're putting your minifigures on there, and the bridge does not lose any of its structural support, which is nice. And here you can see from the aerial view when you go from the watchtower, over here where you can place your archer to kind of watch over and shoot arrows at any incoming invaders. And just because I skipped it earlier by mistake, underneath the watchtower, I really like these fish that are kind of out to dry. I think it's a really fun inclusion for like this Viking fishing village scene. One thing I do not like about this set are the connection points. Here you can see this is the base of the blacksmith shop. And essentially you're supposed to take these little wrench pieces and they connect here to the brown rods. And there's 3 of them that connect here from the Great Hall. And it's hard to get them lined up perfectly. I was trying to line mine up onto that red piece. I had to take it apart and see. So I actually do not use these pieces. Instead, what I do is I just kind of place these next to each other on my shelf. There isn't going to be much movement. And here you can see what I mean at the base of the Great Hall. You have these 3 areas that you place the black wrench pieces and then connect them together. Overall, I do really like the Viking Village. In terms of a price point, this feels like a really good value. I know, it's a pretty average piece to price ratio. However, this build, it's $130. It feels a lot more complete than, say, like Malfoy Manor, the Dursley's house, a lot of those Grimmauld Place. It feels like a complete set, right? Like you have 3 very solid builds with the blacksmiths, the Great Hall, as well as the watchtower. And it's just kind of fun to create this scene with these characters and the detailing here around the village. With that being said, I think the shaping of it is a bit strange. I'm not sure if there would have been an easy way to kind of clean that up. It does look a little bit unfinished in some areas, although the docks line up and they look really good. Additionally, like I said, I don't love the way that the sets use the rod and kind of those wrench pieces to connect together. And it needed more minifigures. It's great. I'll add the CMF Viking minifigure that we got recently here. That's just the one thing. If this had more minifigures, this easily could be a 10 out of 10 set. A nice, fun, unique build. Super different than anything else I kind of have in my collection. I like the Viking theme. Some of the detailing is unique, but I do really wish we got additional minifigures. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Viking Village. What are some of your favorite components of this set and the build techniques for the rock face structures, as well as the buildings and roofs themselves? Is this a set that you have in your Lego collection? Have you expanded on it? Have you added more Vikings to your collection from kind of like the Lego kind of pick-a-brick options for Lego Viking figures? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to stay updated with Lego leaks, rumors, news, and reviews, hit the subscribe button down below. But I will see you all next time. Thank you.